Good morning, men and women of Christ. Glad to be back with you with part 4 of this teaching. Um, Knowing the difference between true Christian prosperity and false Christian prosperity. And we're going to get right to the teaching. If there's a true Christian, and there is a true Christian, I'm one of them, there's a false Christian. There's true Christian prosperity, and there's false Christian prosperity. The problem with the false Christian, what they have is not prosperity. What they have is provision. And it has been unlawfully added as a substitute for prosperity. But when provision follows prosperity, it's being lawfully added by the righteousness of God. But when you receive provision outside of prosperity, it's unlawfully added. It's unlawfully added by the flesh, or unlawfully pursued, should I say, by the false god, which is Antichrist, because that's what, in sin, we're pursuing everything by sight. You know, in sin, we can see provision, but we can't see prosperity because we're dead to it. So what do we pursue as prosperity? Provision, financial and material, because that's all we can see. That's all we can see. So through that spiritual deception of our spirit being in darkness, we pursue what we're deceived into thinking is prosperity. Okay. So we got to come out of that mindset. We got to come out of that mindset because according to 15:22, 1 Corinthians 15:22, in Adam all die, but in Christ shall all be made alive. Let us go to Colossians 3, chapter 3, verse 1 through 4. 1 says, if you then be risen with Christ, set your affections on things above. If you be risen in Christ, you're in the mind of God. If you're in the mind of God, you're at the very throne of God. That's prosperity, because Christ is the mind of God. He is the mind of God. Therefore, he is the eternal prosperity of God, which puts us at the very throne of God. So if you, let's touch on the God thing. As a true Christian, I really don't believe in God, because God is a worldly concept. It's a worldly concept. Okay? The world believes in God, and the true Christian and the world have nothing in common. Okay? This is why the emphasis is on the prosperity of God, which is Christ. Now God has a face. Now you can't put your face on God, or you can't take God that blank check and make God like you. And make God like you. You see, and when God is like you, you can be a bigot, you can be out there doing whatever. And when God is like you, whatever you do, he justifies you. Them the kind of people that say, well, only God can judge me. Because there's no conviction from their God, because they got a God just like them. To the true Christian is in the prosperity of God, because 2 Corinthians 5:19, God was in Christ, reconciling the world unto himself, not imputing their trespasses unto them, but had committed unto us the ministry of reconciliation. Where was he? God was in Christ, reconciling the world unto himself. Why? Christ is the prosperity of God. Christ is the mind of God. Christ is the beginning of all the creation of God. Okay? That makes Christ God. That makes Christ God. He's the beginning and the end. He never had a beginning and he never had an end. That makes Christ God. That makes Christ God. So just believing in God, that's not for the true Christian. True Christians just don't believe in God. You ain't going to just put something on a blank check called God and run that to me. No, because I'm going to test the spirit to see whether it's of God. Whether it's of Christ. Because if it's of Christ, it's of God. Okay. So set your affections on things above, not on things on earth. Not on things on earth. Put your mind back on prosperity, not necessity. Because prosperity is going to take care of your necessity. Okay? Set your affection on things above, not on things on earth. For we're out of that poverty state and we're back in prosperity. For you are dead. You are dead to what? You are dead to the world. You're dead to the flesh. You're dead to money. You're dead to possessions. Now, how you gonna seek what you're dead to? For you are dead, and you are dead to sin, because sin had us bound to these things in the flesh, and that's what we were pursuing. For you are dead, and your spirit is hid in Christ in God. Where's your spirit? Your life. Your life is in Christ's spirit, and your spirit is hid in Christ in God. And when Christ, who is our life, shall appear in the flesh by the fruit of the Spirit, then shall we also as spiritual men and women appear with him. See, this is how he blessed the flesh. All blessings are in the Spirit. And the way he bless your flesh is through that transformed spirit, to bring that flesh back to a place of supernatural health, to carry out the supernatural purpose of the Spirit. To carry out the supernatural purpose of the Spirit. Okay. And this brings us to a conclusion of part 4 of this teaching. Excuse me. Love you with the love of Christ. See you next time.